Hi. What I'm going to tell you now may seem like science fiction, but amazingly, this really proves how the wisdom of Kabbalah, as we say, is Kabbalah, which means received in Hebrew, divine wisdom, because only people in touch with God could have known this. But science has proven, and I'll discuss it soon, and there are videos on my website which you can see, both coming from science as well as videos I commissioned, which absolutely prove what I'm saying. But to begin, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, the famous founder of modern Jewish mysticism, Hasidus, taught that when you see a phenomena, a miracle in nature for the first time, you call it a miracle. When you see it the second time, you call it nature. Nature is everything that happens repetitively, even though we have absolutely no idea how it happens. Now, there have been many studies, there are books that have been put out that prove the assertion of Judaism that nature is simply sequential miracles. The same miracle, the sun coming up every day, is an absolute miracle. Imagine it was always dark, and one day the sun came up. You say, miracle! I remember when my daughter was born, miracle! Every doctor who sees the birth of a child, miracle! And yet, the next day, it's my child. So, because it's frequent, we lose touch with the fact that if something doesn't exist, on day 2, its existence is just as miraculous as day 1. In other words, the mechanism of creation, as you know, is that God created, and this is both from the Kabbalah perspective as well as science. Obviously, there are certain variations, but the key point is the same. First, God created atoms. And it speaks about a koyach hiyuli, both in science and Kabbalah, that everything was like the size of a mustard seed. In fact, if you took, atoms are really space. If you took out all the space, it would be the size of a mustard seed. And these atoms are not something that were created and exist. They are something that are continuously being recreated as we speak. As we speak, the entire universe has popped in and out of existence thousands of times. And science has discovered this. It's a very famous video or documentary called What the Bleep Do We Know?, where you can see completely from a scientific perspective that we have discovered that atoms are popping in and out of existence. In other words, my hand right here has disappeared and reappeared, obviously fast enough for me not to see it. Now, a simple example of this comes from screens. Certainly in the olden days, the way they showed movies was a couple of frames per second, but it was too quick for your eye to see. So what is a movie? It's not one picture. It's many pictures happening quickly. So your eye has a limit on how fast it can see. So even though something's coming in and out quickly, it looks like it's permanent. The same thing is on a computer screen. Now, the reason something's on your screen is something is drawing that. Obviously, it wasn't there a second ago, and you could change your screen, so something is drawing that. But that thing that's drawing that is drawing that thousands of times a second. It's just so quick that you don't see it disappearing and reappearing. Think of a light bulb. The light that's in this room right now is new light, right? The electrons are going through the filament, and that's producing new light. But I don't see the old light going away because it's a continuous thing. And finally, I was once in an expo in Vancouver, Canada. They have this World Fair. And GM had a pavilion. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And they had this Indian come onto a stage, and he did all these amazing magic tricks. In the end, his cloak caught onto fire. And he turned, this guy in front of our eyes, turned into a stick man made out of fire. And he climbs up, and this boat of fire comes up, and he gets into that boat, and in this magical oar, and he goes like this, and he disappears. Guy disappeared in front of our eyes, and the entire thing was holographs. And the exact same reality is going on. Everything in our reality, there's God, and everything is like a holograph, which is really what an atom is. It's like a blown up thing, and then when I touch my hand, the information gets transferred. It's a whole subject that I don't want to go into, but Obviously, it's mainly science, which you can study about. But the bottom line is this. Every single second, if we are a holograph, if we're coming into existence repeatedly, and there's a video you can watch on my website, discovering how the world is recreated, www.kabbalahwisdom.org. If every single second we are the end product of that holograph, that means every second the light comes from the center. Every second. God has just right now recreated the entire universe. And that is pretty awesome. Thank you.